design and management, you know. And it's quite very important for us to familiarize ourselves with those objects. You know, we have for database objects, you know, might be seeing it for some time, and you could be very curious on what is all this, you know, and the schema object as well. So, and see what they do before we now do the hands-on. So let's go. Now, this is our overview. Our focus is actually to, sorry, a minute. Sorry, I'm just trying to plug my laptop, so I don't have to waste everyone's time. All right, so the focus is on impacting. You know, we are trying to understand what all this RDBMS is, and now we are looking at the PostgreSQL. You know, Postgres is developed by Oracle. It's one of the most important relational database management system. It's user friendly. It's very powerful. It's what most organizations generally, you know, recommended. So Postgres is everyone. Yes, we have SQL Server, Microsoft, very, very fantastic as well. But Postgres, and it's quite cool, really. And it's having almost the same syntax with MySQL. So, but anyone you can lay your hands on is almost the same thing. And it's thanks to SOA and ISO. So we don't just drive completely in the name of learning a SQL. So we'll be covering some knowledge. We have to cover some areas, you know, and some description regarding the schema management, the table creation, the user-defined function, the FTS, that is the full text search, and other advanced database concepts. So, and this will enable us to, you know, see how we can leverage on this or manage all these tables together. This is just a statement overview. So we'll be looking at the database objects properly. So let's look at them one after the other. Now I'm using Postgres. So, and sorry for people who really don't have, but it's quite very easy to download. You can have MySQL, I have SQL Server from Microsoft, I have Postgres, I have virtually all. I work with them. So this is Postgres. We call it the PG admin interface. So you have to log in. So I just try to explain what this interface does. So this part, we all know that database, they don't joke with security. So you have to enter your password. In the course of your installation, you enter your password and, you know, your end. So the moment you enter your password, I'm using Postgres 16 version now, though there's 17 out. But I deliberately, because it's practically the same interface. So I was trying to use 14, at least we can all manage to see. So look at the server. We have two servers here. I'm having Postgres 14 and 15. So that's our server. So we are trying to look into the Postgres 14. So that would just be a basis, you know, but it's almost all the same. There's no serious change in it. So when we expand it, now it will display some series of databases. Like here, we have 16 databases. There's one that comes naturally, which is the Postgres. So this is what the databases looks like. And as a matter of fact, I have a number of them. I have in 15, I have 16, but those ones are very sensitive information. So that's why posted at 14 now. So databases, that's that. So we can just pick one of them. Let's try to expand on the project Datakliq and see what we are going to have. So that's our database. Now, but let's talk about this database first before we do the expansion. So Anytime somebody is mentioning database, let me give a relatable example. It's just like you creating a folder on your laptop, and all manner of things. Your app can be there, your document can be there, different things can be there, your movies can be there. So basically, that's what database is all about. So it's more of like a container now. It's like a container that for organizing data, and sorry, for organizing data. Sorry, in a minute. All right, for organizing data, and this is basically where you store. From even the name, you break it down, you see database. So where you store your table that contains your data, views are also in form of table. We will look into that. Functions, all those functions, you enter some functions, some aggregate function, and they works. They are not just working on their own. There are some objects that enable such to occur on your canvas. Then, and some other objects that we are still going to explore this morning. And you know what Postgres does? PostgreSQL support multiple databases like we have seen now on a single server. Now we just open just only one server and you can see multiple databases we have, and they are really isolated from each other. Yes. But let's expand on now on a project Datakliq. You know, now that we have expanded on project Datakliq, that is the database now, we have some objects, you know. Let me ensure you can see my slide pointer. This will do well. So some objects, you can see those objects within from the project Datakliq, and you will see some like cast, catalog, event trigger, extension, foreign data, and so on and so forth. So what did they even do? So I'll just be mentioning them briefly. I don't have to take our time. So on the cast, what is it all about? Here it's saying cast in Postgres defines how data can be converted or cast from. Okay, let me summarize it. It basically means to convert a value now from a data type to another. By now, we should be familiar with what data type is. We have numbers, we have dates, we have, so you even see variable character, that is for the string, for multiple objects. Some RDBMS we call this varying character. So it means number can fit in, uh, several word icons can put in, the text can easily flow, or alphanumeric objects, they can all fit in. So what it does is that it enables the possibility for us to convert data into any form of data type. Let me use an example. In data analytics, if your work is on, you'll be working on large data sets. Now, one of the things you would do, especially if you are to take your data set to your database, is to bring everything in variable character, whether it's number or not. And because you don't know what is in those data sets, it can, where there is age, for example, you can be seeing somebody's name there, meaning that the data is dirty. So one of the best way, the smart way to bring in data before you begin to do cleaning, transforming, and do all sort of things, is to bring them in text, in string, everything variable character. So this casts, by the time we now inspect each column one after the other and say, oh, this guy is free. Or maybe we look at the salary, maybe there is a salary column in that table we just bring in. We'll now say, hey, let's change it back. At least we have inspected it, we have sorted it down, we are not seeing any form of letters. Assuming there is letter, if you are sorting it by present order, you will be seeing the letters coming first or last. So with that, you know the distinct, you know that, okay, even though if we have a missing value, there's a way we have to now change it to a proper number format of the data type. So this cast enable us to do that. Let's move on. Now, onto the catalog. What does it say? It said catalog assistant table that store metadata. Metadata is basically the information about the data. So let me just summarize it from my hand. I mean, I would say, yes, they are like system table that hold metadata about the database. So I want you to think of catalog as, database own reference book now, something that is used as a reference in interpreting information now, the data within the database. So what it does is they keep track of all the important information about what is inside the database, something like tables, users, or even more. So I'm just trying to break it down for us to get it quickly. So let's look to event trigger. Now, event trigger, what is it all about? So event trigger, is used to react now to a certain event in the database, something like DDL command. And I believe we are now familiar with the terms, data definition language, stuff like that. So these are like alarm in the database. Sorry to use the word alarm. You set an alarm, maybe something that trigger things. Like when something specific happen. So for example, let's say you are trying to create a table. Definitely it will alarm, it will trigger rather. And this will automatically run some predefined task to ensure that, okay, a table appears here and the table is included now in the schema, within the schema objects. So this is one of the things the trigger does. So let's go to the extension. So what is it all about? Just like extension in Excel, it's basically the add-on module to extend, Postgres functionality. And we have some like PostGIS, for spatial data, and the other is this other one I forgot. So the extensions are just where you can get your app. It's like an app you can install within that database, like an extra features. Just like what you will install app and your phone to do more things. So these are extensions for people who are doing some advanced SQL or database query. So let's look at the foreign data wrapper. So what is it all about now? Now we call I would say it's like an interface now. Interfaces to access to foreign data. I'm trying to paraphrase it from our explanation here. We don't have to be reading it. Now, so for example, it's just like you want to gain access to some database now, external database that is outside this. So this is very useful, especially when you are trying to connect to another server. So for example, let's say I want to get some data from another database or even a spreadsheet now. So without me importing it, the normal way of importing, writing those queries. So foreign data wrapper will be responsible for that. So it enables us to connect and work with those data if it were part of our own database. That is from our own end. So, but that means it's just going to be like a connection, like one of the things they do, I believe they do in the bank when they are backing up their data. So there's something called batch migration. So they will just load it to their database, refresh it, everything is in there. So let's move on quickly. Now to language. What is the important? The idea is SQL. It actually means SQL, structured query language. It's a languaging program. So one of the things here to enable us to know a well-defined language, that is the supported programming language for function in Postgres. So we have PL or PG SQL. These are the basic language that is used, that is fused together, that we are learning now today. So, for example, database speak different languages, to perform actions. And SQL now, Postgres can use multiple languages, just the same way we speak English now, speak Spanish, we speak French, and and to write instruction in joint tasks. So sometimes the time I was doing a project, I have to infuse JavaScript objects. That is JSON, JSON, especially when it has to do with getting feedback or doing some sentiment analytics. Somebody will say, how can SQL do sentiment analysis? Yes, you can analyze it. It's designed for that. And that's why we're having different versions of all the BMS. So they update them with different functionalities or features. So let's look at the other one, publications. Now on the publications, so I would say it is used for logical replication now, defining what data is published. So for example, if you want to share part of your database, maybe just table now, some tables with another, so you need to create a publication, and this will define what you want to share. It's not going to be like you are doing the foreign data wrapper. It's different now. Now, this publication focus on a particular table or view, not the entire database, unlike the one foreign data wrapper would do. So it's very important we do that. So that is for publication. So now let's go to the schema. Schema is our guy. Now, this is like I'll call it a logical grouping of database objects. So what are the database objects? I'll call it tables, materialized view. We'll be seeing it, we'll expand on it, and you will see what I'm talking about. And these are like folders, like I've said the other time, in your computer. So they help organize your database into separate sections. And this will be very easier to manage, different set of data without them getting mixed up. So that's what the schema does. And the last one from the database object is the subscription. So what the subscription is all about, this defines subscriber. I'll say it defines the subscriber to the database published, by an publication in logical replication now. That is from the publication now. So, for example, when one database wants to receive an update, that is, or maybe data from another database that has publication. So it's just like we subscribe to it, like the way we subscribe to newsletter to get updates. So we can actually do that. So subscription enables us, it's more of like a gateway that give us room for us to have access. Now we can see every one of them works together. So that will be all about the database objects. Now we're moving swiftly now to a schema object. We will soon begin to take it. I'm having a feeling that questions might be rolling in the chat. I can't begin to see, but once we are done with the section, don't waste time. Write your question. Don't say, oh, let me wait. You might forget, So just type it down and move on. So, but at the end of the day, end of this first section now, we'll look at it together and discuss. That's the deal. So, schema object, let's look at it. Now, from the last, second to the last, we expand on the schema. And once you expand on the schema, sometimes I have a feeling that somebody might be saying, what is this all about? Hey, how they think plenty. It's very possible. And you can see there is a schema I just created, Datakliq. You can click, we will see how we can create schema. And there is a defaulted one called public. So you expand on the public and it will show us some of these objects that ensure all our queries work. So that is the schema object. So let's look at them one after the other. The aggregate. So what aggregate does, this, let me paraphrase it rather than just reading it here. So these are functions now that takes multiple inputs and return a single result. Now, you have been hearing having an idea around, how should I put it now? Aggregate function. It's a very good example. So let me use an example. For example, might want to calculate maybe a total sum of a column or average from a list of value, maybe entire column now. So this aggregate object enables us to do that. You can see everything is not coming from heaven or it's appearing naturally. They work together. And with that, we can able to summarize things we are looking for. So in a database, aggregate function does this kind of math across all the rows of the data. So we have the group by, for example, it's a very good one. This can be used, especially when we are applying some aggregate function. So it's very important we know the importance of the aggregate. So let's move on to the collation. Now on the collation, collation is kind of a set of rules now that defines how text is sorted and compared. So for example, we can say we might determine whether A comes before a small a. We can even make it a case sensitive thing. So this is what the collation is all about. Now we can decide, though we'll be looking at some of these things too. For example, we can say Apple. We want Apple now. Let me use Apple in capital letter because I'm looking at one. Should come before the smaller letter Apple. And this is on the basis of the case sensitive. So it is very possible to do that. And especially this is used when we are trying to clean data or to duplicate data. They are very useful when it comes to that. So what about domain? Let's go. So domain, this like okay, these are like they are like a custom data type now that is created by users. And this is actually based on an existing data type. So with the added rules or constraint. So let me give an example with respect to that. We can create a custom data type for a phone number and where only valid phone number are accepted. You can also do that. So I want you to imagine this way that you are trying to making a form, maybe all this Google form, and the idea is to collect phone numbers. So you want to make sure that only the valid phone numbers have entered. This is where you will see, what's the name? You will ensure that if you are entering anything, the data type is not corresponding. Now, this is where the data type comes in. It's not corresponding. It will tell you that you have entered the wrong data format. It will not even go. So that is what is responsible now to ensure that you enter the right data format or date format or anyone. So that's just about the domain. So let's go to the FTS configuration. FTS for configuration means full text search. Full text search. This actually defines how search terms are processed in full text searches. And this actually decides how text is broken into words and which words are important when searching. I'm just trying to paraphrase it, in a way you can get it. So let's look at Google. Okay, let's think of it. A search engine like Google now. What they do is they break down what you type in the search bar and decide how to match it with the content within their own database. And one of the cool thing about Google as a search engine, once you type it, if you look at the address, you will see how it was able to break your wells down, you'll be seeing something plus this plus that, and add some other funny code. So it's the same thing also done here. That is the full text search configuration. So this is what enables such ability. It's an object. It's a very powerful object within the schema. So what about the FTS dictionary? Yes, the full text search dictionary. They will have this dictionary as well. This store the list of wells and define how wells should be processed, for the full text search. Like example, the dictionary actually help us in identify the base form of words. For example, this dictionary will help us to, for example, identify something like run or running. They are two different things. So it will enable us to know that, okay, there's run within running. So you will begin to see some command, some statement like. You will mention like so that it can generate those ones that contain this text, and it will return it. So this dictionary helps us with that. So it's very important we know that. So FTS, another full text search parser. Now what this does is to break down text into smaller parts. Text, not word in that of this thing. So like individual word or phrase for full text searches. It's a very important thing. You can see lots of features in your Postgres, in your RDBMS. They can actually help in breaking a very long sentence into individual words to understand what each part means. Parser also help in database to figure out how to break down a large text to searchable chunks. So let me give an example so that we can have a picture of what we are even talking about. For example, let's say you are trying to, input it. There's a data set that contains the cat run fast. The cat runs fast. So he will be able to break it from his own end to D on one side, cat in another side, runs in another side, and fast in another part. So that by the time you are using a statement like, they said the column like this, you will be able to return those columns or those rows that matches with what you like. So this is one of the things the parser does, the full text parser. So let's look at the template. We're moving fast, and it's good. Now, on the FTS template, what it does is to predefine configuration used now in full text searches. And actually, they can be customized to suit a different language or type of content we want to introduce in. So, so the template tells the database, let me give it a very quick picture. It tells the database how to process text, depending on what kind of language or rules you need. So for example, let me give a very funny example. In the course of installation, you can differentiate. Maybe the template is focusing on English now or French. And everything is looking like English. Of course, French also is there, and that's just one of the things the full text template does. So they give that platform. So they enables us. So let's look at the foreign tables. Some of us might be familiar with what this does, And foreign table, these are tables that exist now outside the current database. Just the name sound foreign. They are not local. For people who have done Java, we understand what a local variable and some stuff like that, what it does, So foreign table is actually, they exist outside the current database, but can still be accessed and queried as if they were part of it. That is where the configuration, subscribing, everything comes in, so that we can even have access to it. So these foreign tables can actually do that, enable us to do that. So for example, let's say you are even checking an inventory now from for a different store, and they give you their database link. But by the time you connect it, you're able to see it in your own system. That has this the same Postgres now, or maybe SQL Server, without moving all the data all over. So we just have access to it straight away. So you can be used to view different database. So, but this is what enables hacker. Now they will say they have hacked into our database. Now this is what the foreign base table does. So it allows that all they just need IP, internet protocol, IP address is part of it, and some other, I will call it a trap. Don't let us go further on that. We are not yet to hack the database, but this is one of the things they do. So let's go to our functions. Now, when we are talking about function, in Postgres, these are like reusable pieces of code that perform a particular, a specific task. Now, let me give an example. You can create a function to calculate a discount, and still use it anywhere in the database here. So you can design your own function. It's there. You can create a function like you don't want to be, especially when you are working on a repetitive task. Maybe every day you need to pack it, you need to add all this together. So you just create a function to save you some chunk of time. And this is what enables search. So with that, you can reuse it anytime you want, just like you're trying to make dishes. Like now, I just want to microwave my stew. So I'm reusing it, just joking, But that's that about that. So let's go to the materialized view. Now, on materialized view, is actually a table, basically. It's quite very similar to view. View is still down. These objects are arranged in alphabetical order. You can see aggregate, C, D, F, and view. It would have even made sense for the view to come first so that the explanation of materialized view will make sense. But don't worry. So they are similar to view. Views are just table you create within the database and can be accessible in other devices in terms of visualization. That's for view. But for materialized view, it's similar. It's actually a predefined query. So, but it is stored in a physical copy of the data for faster access. Now, materialized view are used especially when you are dealing with a large amount of data. They are not just there for decoration. By the time you create materialized view, then the database should be getting ready. Some people they will be suspecting this database can be more sure. They'll just say select star from the table name and limit it to 10. You're scared to view it because once they view it, you'll be seeing like 6 million data set that will cause the system to vibrate or do some stuff. So one of the cool things to do is a way to save it in your materialized view. So execution can be done sharp on it. So you're working on a large scale. So this is what a materialized view can do for you. So I'm just trying to paraphrase it. So let's look at the operators. So, operators are just symbols or keywords. We'll be looking at several types of operators as we move on, that perform operations, like some mathematical operation like plus, minus, equals to. They are all there, excuse me, to ensure that there is a communication to the database. So the operations we'll be looking at this, we can be using plus to add quantity of item, equals to compare them to say, okay, we're trying to sort this out, greater than, less than, and so on and so forth. This is one of the things operator does. So the procedure is a nice thing. Now on the procedure, what it does is that they are stored script. or program that execute a sequence of operation. So basically, this is just like a step-by-step process you follow. Sometimes anytime you want to execute your queries, we'll be looking at that. It's sounding like, oh, sorry, what am I saying? It executes it step by step, line by line. So that is one of the things procedure does. And there are some formula we can use. There's some statement now or command we can use for us to do proper procedure, like to support automation now, so that we don't have to stress ourselves. So this is one of the things procedure does, especially when it involves repetitive tasks. We can be doing something like we want to wake up, brush teeth, eat breakfast. All these are things we do on daily basis. So that's one of the things the procedure does. They set an action on, and all this can happen automatically in a specific order. So that's the summary. So let's look at the sequences. Now on the sequences now, this guy generates unique numbers automatically. As we are writing our queries, it will begin to number it 1, 2, 3, it's possible. And it is just an incrementation now. We can be using ID. So sometimes it's not only going to be 1. There's a way we can design our database, and as data set is coming in, it automatically generates a very unique ID, and it's something we can design. So this will give us a very unique number, especially when we are loading large amount of data. So let's look at the other one, tables. Tables, we all know that guy. This is the main guy. So this is where all the data is stored in rows and columns, relational database, just like spreadsheet in Excel now. So we can put in the names, the phone number, different things. So this is the table we will access. So we can include multiple tables in there and like. Then let's look at the last, second to the third to the last. That's a trigger function. Now on the trigger function, what does it do? So these are like a specific function that automatically runs. When certain events, maybe we are trying to insert some data or update the data, maybe we are trying to edit it or do some editing or deleting like that, occur in the table. So they are just the trigger function, just like the one we have in our database. We have some trigger functions in there. So this one too, as we are running, typing some queries, adding information, there's some trigger function that ensure this thing happen automatically, and this is very important. So look at it second to the last, the type, excuse me. The type here, what it does actually, it defines the kind of data you want to store in the database. Yes. It focuses on the data type now, whether we have an integer, excuse me, excuse me, we having a text, maybe a variable character, a date, a numeric, a big integer, excuse me, excuse me, and so on and so forth. So these are where the data type are being kept on the column basis we are creating. So then the last one is the view. View is very important. This is a way that we saved queries, that allow you to see the data from one or more tables without actually storing it in the data again. It's as good as saying you are creating a table without physically storing the data. But you can print it out, but it will be there. So, but one of the things we should know is that views, they rely on the table. The moment you delete the table, the view also goes off. So it's very important. It's just like I won't call it a derivative. Sorry, I'm a student of chemistry. It's something yes, we can call it a derivative, kind of, but it will rely. It's a function of the table, what is in the table. So one of the cool things we can do is to, create a view. View is more structured and connecting maybe to some visualization to a Power BI, Tableau, especially when we are building a database, connecting them together so it's possible. So that is all about the schema object. So let's look at the summary once again. The summary. So this Postgres database object, they serve various purposes, from data manipulation even to metadata management, and data integration. And it's very important understanding and utilizing them effectively can enhance the functionality and efficiency of your RDBMS, that is the Postgres. There is a saying that if a purpose is not well defined or known, abuse is very inevitable. You might not even know the extent of what your RDBMS can do. So I think that's why the team were able to put this together to ensure we get familiar, we understand what the RDBMS can do for us. At least we have one or two ideas around it now. We'll be having the video, so we can always explain or even leverage on this knowledge. So thank you very much. That is the first section. So I'll be entertaining questions now. I do believe there are questions. Yes, I do. Do we have any question? Let me check the chat box now. So okay, somebody's asking of my name. Shino Apuapi. One troublesome boy. I'm just kidding, So do we have any question or is it clear? Let me start with that. Is it clear? Let me see our thumbs up. Or if you have any question, show demo react by waving it. Okay, don't let me use demo emoji. Is it clear? Thumbs up. If it is okay, I'm thinking I haven't. Okay, the difference between, somebody is asking a question. They're saying, what's the difference between database and schema? Now, database is where maybe gives what you want to put it. Database is what houses the object, that you can use, like a bigger folder. Now, let me use the word bigger folder that contain many things that you can use to work. So inside, inside the database has your schemas. Schema is also a container, it's also a folder now that's housing your table. Different form of table, an object that enables the table to function. Everything is embedded. Now, I know we are not so familiar with it, especially when we are installing this, but if you are installing anything, maybe app, okay, let me even use this Microsoft Suite, for example. You will be seeing some objects. As you're installing it, you'll be seeing it's loading different objects at the same time when you're installing it on your PC. All these objects are not there for decoration. If you go to the Microsoft file, for example, maybe in your type C or program C like that, you will see multiple objects. They are not there for design.
Hello,
They are
Mr.
not
Chino.
just, all right?
Hello.
Hello, I'm with you.
Are you sharing your screen? We can't see your screen.
Yes, I drop it. So I'm entertaining questions. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. So sorry about that. Okay. You will see those objects when you are installing those objects, even if it is game, you will see some objects. You might not know, you cannot even view it. You will just see them. They have a purpose. So these are the objects that we are seeing them now physically. So schema is also an object within the database that housing the table, the view, some functions. So that's the difference. I don't know if it is clear, Mr. Samuel. I believe it's clear. All right, without wasting further of our time, if you have questions, we want to move on to the next part now. So this will actually help us properly, and please, like I've said again, if you have any question, please feel free. It's an interactive section. It's an interactive time. We are all learning. I'm learning as well. So let me share my screen for the next one. All right. So the next one, we are looking at data manipulation, data analytics function, and the subqueries and derivative table. We'll just talk briefly on that because tomorrow we will now do it properly, and so we just have today and tomorrow. So we just, excuse me, just have to give a shot. But let's go. Well, let's talk about data manipulation. Even from the manipulation, somebody will say it's not a very good time. Especially we know these days, they'll say, that man is very manipulative. Eh? You want to distance, for our ladies now. And you can say this guy is like a snake, it's manipulative. So we need to understand, how do we, as a data analyst can manipulate data. But let's see what the SQL offers us. Now, we have some statement that enables us to, to make sure this thing is possible. We have the insert statement, and we have the insert statement basically is, you want to insert new record, you want to insert new data. So you are manipulating data now. The existing one you are adding to it, or you're adding to it. So that's one of the statement. Then we have another one called the update statement. This is where you want to edit. You want to correct some things, So it's also a statement in data manipulation. Then the delete. Then you want to delete the table. Delete the data within that table now. So this is another. These are the three major major statements regarding data manipulation. So let's look at it. I just give a summary. So let's look at what they do. The insert statement now. Now, when we use the insert function, SQL, it's actually used to insert new record into the rows. So you are manipulating. So you can add data into the table, and you can even make some specifications, set some conditions what you want to add. So this is just a very basic syntax on how we can add, our information manually now into the table. There are other ways you can migrate large data. So we'll be looking at that before the end of this class. So basically, this is the syntax. You can add data manually and say, okay, we have a column like this, and the value, what we want to add into it, and leverage on this. So that's what all this one does. The table name is the name of the table. This is the table name. The column are the column inside that table. The values are the things you want to add. It can be text, it can be age, it can be name, so on and so forth. So that's what all the insert function syntax is all about. So let's look at the update statement. Yeah, to modify an existing record in the row. So but let's look at the syntax so we can have a better understanding on this on that. So the update table, you can see we are trying to update. That is we have to modify. You can call it edit. Edit is the preferable terms we use these days. Then there's something called set. That is, it's more of like set. This is the way the change I want to make from column 1. That means column 1 has a column 1 with this condition where we are having this. Change the value maybe from 5 to 25. Change column B from sin to this one. So that's what it means. That is how we can edit our table. But we are going to see all these things by ourselves. We try it, and of course, it's going to work. So the last one is the statement. the delete statement. We want to delete data set now from the table. So this is the syntax. Straightforward. Delete from. Somebody will say SQL is the closest programming language to English. You can even literally read this and have an idea of what the query is saying. Delete from this table. Okay, say we should delete something from the table. Where we now state the condition. It's English now. I can even tell my line manager, say, Oga, delete from where, the person will look like, okay, even though we are not putting it the way we should, but I have an idea of what you're saying. I'm just kidding you. But it's very closer to English. And of course, it's quite very easy. And that's why SQL is quite straightforward, easy, no issue. So let's move on. Now, in data manipulation, now, this is the conclusion. You should have to, anytime you are trying to modify, deleting, you need to be very careful because you cannot recover. Somebody will say, you can be using other apps and say, okay, oh, I mistakenly delete this. I have a backup. And that is usually from the database. But now this is a database. If you delete, it's gone. People will say, Otilo. If you had, it's still okay, but delete, modify. That's why you see people using blood and fire and gun to protect their database, especially in a big organization. And you're seeing it in the movie. They do everything they can to hack into database because once they change it, there is no way they can overwrite it. Rather, they can overwrite it, yes, but there's no way they can change what is put in. They will have to write another one to counter it. So it's a very sensitive this thing. That's why you see all form of security this thing. By the time you are doing some connection, when you are working, when SQL is your tools, you enter password tire. It's a very common code. Once you are using database, you can enter password because everything is passworded. The security has to be top notch. So let's move on. So let's look at the data analysis functions now. Somebody will say, do we have functions in SQL? We have data analysis function. We have multiple functions. So our focus is actually on data analysis, just like Excel. So we have analysis function. So let's go. Now we have some 5 major basic data analytics function. So we have the basic arithmetic function. What does it have? That is the operator I was talking, some operators rather, like plus, subtraction, multiplication, division, even modulus. So these are basic mathematics. They are functions, data analytics function. Then we have another one called aggregate function. So this one is talking about the sum. I can summarize what is in a column. I think we hinted on that. The average, the count, the mean, the maximum, and so on and so forth. So we can do all that. Then we have the math functions. Also, we have the absolute, that is the ABS. This is very common, the round, the ceiling, the floor, the power, the square root. So all these things are very important. Very, very important. So let's check the other last two. We have the trigonometric function. Somebody who doesn't even know that there's a trigonometric function as in SQL, like sine, cosine, tan, and so on at a sine and tan cos at a tan, all these things are there. Then we have the logarithm functions as well as the last one, just that we don't normally use it. So on some cases, in some advanced this thing, they use it. So we have the log 10 function, then the exponential function. So these are the basic 5 functions, but we just need to explore some of the math function that we saw, the absolute and the likes. So let's talk about that. They are valuable. They are valuable for data analysis, financial calculation, geometry, and different tasks regarding math. Now, they allow you to manipulate numeric data within your SQL queries and generate a meaningful result, for reporting and analysis. once you familiarize yourself with this, it becomes a very you are leveraging on it. It became a standard. When I say standard use of the standard way of presenting your analysis, it might look complicated to people who doesn't really have an idea, but it makes it more easy, kind of. Your analytics much more easy. So let's go. So we need to look at them one after the other. I just put this up so we can play around with it. So what this absolute does, if you're having a negative, for example, -10, and you put absolute -10, then let's say one of the things, the application here is that there was a time I was working on age, using, so I was not getting negative, positive, negative, but you cannot get negative age. So I just use absolute. So absolute will turn everything to positive. That's it. Then we have another one called round. I think we must have done this, seen this in Excel, even in Power BI. It's a way to round something up. It's always having two um, variables in there. We have the variable one, and the one we want to round it up to, just like the Excel one. So if we say 1, because this is the number you are focusing on, the round, and you said to the one decimal place, it will change it to 4.3. If I change this one to 0 to become 4, so that is how round works. So ceiling, you need to narrow it. What it does is actually to round it down to the nearest integer. Whether it is 9 or it will just focus on the 5, the big one. But floor, when you are using floor also, one of the things it does is to round up to the nearest integer as well, to 2. This can be rounded up to, sometimes ceiling can round it up to maybe 6, but it depends on the idea. It does. I don't think it works in a SQL server. It doesn't work. So I think one of them works, other one doesn't work. So it's just like, so we have another one, power. 2, instead of saying 2 raised to power 3, this is what it means. So if I want to say 10 raised to power 2, I'll just put 10, put 2 here. So there is a way we can do some advanced function whereby we can say, okay, we want to multiply all this column a number of how many times. So we can use the power function now to ensure that is achieved, and we can also get 8. Now the square root, look at the square root. So square root, just put square root and the column to give you a result. So these are just one of the popular math function in data analytics. So in conclusion, now the math function along with SQL query capability allow you to perform some wide range now of data analytics tasks, even from basic calculations to some complex statistics analysis within the SQL. Before now, someone might say, I don't know SQL can do this. I just felt it can only store information and that's all, or data. That's all. It can do more. And these days, they even prefer people with that is very skillful with that is more proficient with SQL, to work in, especially when they has to do with large numbers now. So it's very important to know that. So, and so be sure to consult your database, and always don't forget also, anytime you're using this math function, you don't normally just have your sheet beside you. It's not an exam or now. If you're at work, you can always reference from your sheet. Please don't joke with that. And just to give you a refresh on, oh, this thing can do this, to save you good chunks of time. Then the last one, we'll just talk briefly on this subquery. We're going to do it tomorrow properly. So on subquery, they call it a nested queries. So we write a query and reference it as a table. That's the best way I can put it. So that's the word where the nested comes in. So we nested it, and it became a very important tool in data manipulation. You can manipulate data, you can create table, recreate, dismantle, all manner of things. And once you can able to arrange it, all you just need to do, once it is arranged, you store it in your view. visualize, fire. So it's just one of the things we're looking at, but I'm not sure. But I just put some types here. Sometimes we are used to a particular type, so I want to really spell what this thing does. Scalar query, subquery, I mean. A subquery that returns a single value that can be used to replace where a single value is expected. Maybe we aggregate it, subquery it. So this is what the scalar, from the word scalar, scale. So that's what it does. So row subquery, this is very important, especially when you want to return one or more rows. That's why they call it row. And this is used in operation like in, not in, any, but we are still going to look at all that. So the correlated one is, I think, is very common. It's the most common one. Just is referred to column from outer query. Yes, and it's executed for each row in the outer query, making it more dynamic. We're still going to talk about this because it might look like magic. So these are the syntax of what I just mentioned. The scalar, this is where you can see it's returning a single value. So because a single value is expected to be here, so that's why our subquery, our scalar subquery can function. Then what about the row subquery? You will see that, okay, select the product name from product where the product ID in another table. Because if you run these two, this guy, it will give you a particular product ID that must be found in this. So that is a row subquery. Very interesting. Then the last one, the correlated one, this is the one I said is quite very common. Select employee name from employers. Where? Now, this is a complete query where the salary, now the condition, is greater than a particular salary. So it can be the average. That is where an aggregate function usually comes in, because that means all these ones will give us a number. You give us a number. Let me use a better pointer. So it will give us a number. Sorry, let me change it. So it will give us a number. All these ones, it will give us a single number. If you are trying to write a correlated query and from your condition, that is from the where, you're now trying to bring back a row, it will not run. It will give you error. But we are going to see all this. I just hope there is enough time, but it's very, very cool. So now for people who has the knowledge, the SQL, who is quite knowledgeable in SQL, we understand there has been some discussions between which one is better. Can I use this one in place of this subquery or joins? Joins is sometimes at times it can be very similar to what subquery can do. But join, the purpose why joins are there is quite different. It's to connect multiple tables together and to return all the columns, not just one. You can return some certain column, but that is what it's designed for. To create a bigger, but some queries can also be used, but based on some conditions. Now maybe you manipulate it and the likes, but we are still going to use it. And all this thing depends on the task that we have on our ends. So the derived tables, these are the derived table, like the views like we've talked about. So it's actually, they're always in the line, they're always within the table. They are not always a permanent table. We talked about the views the other time. So it's not usually set. It's not something you can say, okay, let me find it. Because if the table is deleted, the views are no more there. The materialized views are no more there. I'm just trying to paraphrase this to make it sense. So it is only being used, especially when we want to do some tasks, we have manipulated, we are trying to ensure that, okay, want to be using this table going forward for our other query. So in conclusion, they are very valuable. So queries are very valuable tools for performing complex queries. This can actually help you to retrieve, manipulate. That manipulate is supposed to be in capital letter because you can manipulate anything with your query. And in a more versatile way, more versatile to justice that, especially when dealing with relationships, aggregation, and so on. So, but we need to know that understanding when and how to use them also is very important. When to use subqueries also very important. So that the thing is this, the tricky thing is it will give you results if you are misusing it, but you will not know that you are wrong. I want to run it. Open result, nice one, correct. You will be celebrating. You might not even know it's wrong. Sometimes you just need to know. I'll be hinting us within this short time how we can actually know when to use subquery. Something very important. So I have some learning platform I would suggest us to run with. W3 Schools is a good place. You don't joke with that. They are developed by these Norwegian guys, and they are freemium. That's the word they use. To Terrier's point, sadly, this has turned to one money spot now. I think they're developed by Indians and the like. So it's just that. The factory is also a very good place to study SQL. Geek for Geeks it's a general computer science platform. So SQL is also there. There are more actually now. So just for self-study and the like. So that will be all on our stuff. So one thing I want us to know we are going to do now, but let me drop my screen. So before we talked about how to import data sets, into how we can create table practically now, because now we are going to the practical section. So we just import database and that's it. So let me go through the question we are. Like I like this. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Adej. Database is like a schema is where you find sorry. Okay, assume you created. Okay, they're just trying to explain it to the other group guy that actually asked questions. All right. Do we have any question or do we have any observation? I think we should be happy that network is pretty good this morning. I just really happy about that. All right. So since there is no question, so let's move on to let me try to share my screen. So now I've launched my PG admin now, my Postgres, and I want to do some practical stuff, and you will see everything we've talked about, and trust me, we'll love it. So it's fun, it's something this can teach you how to be very patient at times. This admin could take time. You can even say that configuration error and you'll start all over again, but don't worry. So we just want to ensure that we get this thing properly so that we can set the ball rolling for us to learn on our own pace. That's the purpose now. Why we are actually having this class. We don't have to be waiting for some people to feed us often. Oh, another quote, run. Okay, attend. Oh, another one, run. Sometimes you just need to, one quote like this is enough. Let me just develop myself. Let me watch YouTube. Let me, practice on my own. It's faster and it's better because you understand yourself better than everyone else. There might be some questions you might want to ask, and maybe because of the serenity, see what I'm talking about, fat error. Don't worry, I'm starting again. So, and lo and behold, you will just, you know, you will be asking questions and you'll be like, this thing is tiring. ChatGPT is now available, YouTube. Maybe if it is something you want to see physically. So just go through those things and get your answer. You practicing it. That's most important thing. So all these things we are doing, the table we are recording, it will be like a guide. By the time you are now working on it, you have your sheet beside you, which is a normal thing for every programmers. If you are writing code, you don't have to be showing pro. Just put your sheet beside you and you see why people are having more than one laptop, more than one PC now. The bigger one is the major thing, and the smaller one is where you put in those sheets, something that can easily refresh you or remind you, oh, this is how we do this. You can even copy it, test it there, and run it through. So this should start now. Our PG admin should start right now. So I'm just waiting. All right. Sorry, I like black background. So sorry, the dark thing. I mean. So I have 14, 15, 16, but let's work with 16. This is what I'm talking about. You need to enter your password. So let me enter mine. All right. So you see what I'm talking about. This is the database. What we just talked about. These are the database, the object within it. You can see the databases I've created now. So, but let's create a new database. Or what do you think? Let's do that. So to do that, you can right click this and go to database. So we just type the database name. I'll just say, let's call it Datakliq. Don't forget there's no space. Underscore cohort. Oh, sorry. There's space. You can even put space. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just the name. So and press save. So it's saving right now. And here we are. Now, this is what I was talking about. So by the time we expand on this, you can see the database object. The cast we talked about responsible for data type, converting a particular data type to. So our focus is on this schema because it's what that housing our table. So we expand this. We click on this to expand it, but let's use the defaulted schema. I can see the feedback showing us here. This is what we want to do. So one of the things we have to do is to create a script, a Canvas script. So you can right click here and go to create script, this guy. So it will show us some things, the Canvas now. Now, these queries is to certified in case we are having a similar schema. If it exists already, see all the instruction, it's already giving us a heads up. So we don't need all this, so just Control Alt, delete. Now, we just look at two things now: how to create table, and please, this part is very important. Please, I will really encourage us to listen. We have talked about the theory part now, and now this is the hands-ons, the hands-on. So it's very important, please. So we are going to create a table. Let me write a comment. This is just a comment, sorry. So we want to create a table. And that's it. So this is one of the things I talked about in um, unique ID generation. This is just like one, to enable us to capture what we're looking for. But don't worry. So let's minimize this guy to look for the table we want to create. Now, yeah, I already have a CSV table here. Let me open it. CSV means comma separated value. So you can see all the table. Just this like an example. So let's press shift. I want to copy all this table header first. So once we ensure the table headers are copied so that we can use it to create table, yeah. So we can write something like okay. Let me just put table headers. All these green colors are just comment, you need to, so I just press control. To me, table header, I mean, the tables are too much, but we have no choice. Let's just play with it. Me, I will break it up. I cannot. So let's just put it this way. Time. Aha, I think it's fine this way. All right, so these are the table headers. So let's call this, let's name this a retail thing. Now, yeah, a retail thing. So you can use create, something like create. You can see the color. And one beautiful thing about this query, they will giving you a color. The color will be communicating to you. If you are making mistake, the color will change a bit. Green usually is the comment, and so maybe you're adding numbers or so. But don't worry, but let's go on. Create table. So what name should we call it? Let's call it retail table now. Table. So you can see it is white, it's showing white. So we can open this bracket, see what it's showing us. Tab. It's going to be a very long table, I guess, but the most important thing is we are learning from here. Now, and I believe maybe Mr. Folosha has given us some heads up, regarding how all this thing goes. For example, the invoice ID is a unique identity. We just paste it here. Remember, they don't have space. So instead of space, it's best we use underscore, it's an ID. So you just use you have to mention the data type that can flow with this. So in this case, the data type of ID is a mixture of characters. Well, let me show us, or better still, okay, I'll open it here. But let me just close this one. Let me show us in Excel. I have it in Excel here. All right, so now you will see there are different objects here. We have 75 dash or iPhone, like whatever people call it. So it's not a number. We are not going to put it as a number because we are not expected to sum it or so. Because somebody also can be asking, phone number, why are we putting Vasha? Are you expected to do calculation of phone number? Or say, you add your phone number to this phone number. No, you don't do that. So it is an address kind of in form of number, but it is a variable character, a string. When you turn it to a text or something. So that's what it means. So you can see this is a variable character. And hello, I'm audible. See, the one, this quiet thing. Can you still see my screen, guys? I just need to be very certain.
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right,
You're
all right,
audible.
okay. All right. Okay, now we'll call it Varsha. You can see the color has changed to blue, meaning the data type. And we will mention the maximum length. So maybe regarding this and for the other future data type, let's call it 100, for example. Since it is a unique identifier, you have to put in is a primary key so that anything, if you are trying to add any replicating the same ID, it will means error. So that primary key helps us with that to ensure that um, it is unique. So the next one is branch. Branch is we know branch is Varsha too. But let me just copy this one to save us some time. I like sharp work. Just don't have to. Then the next one is city. 100 is fine for branch, even though okay, let's change it to 50. It doesn't matter because it's a single letter from the data set here. Branch A, branch B, it's just 111. You can even change it to 5. Anyone, but it's fine. So city is the next one. So yeah, 100 is fine, but always don't forget, put comma at the end of it. Then the next thing is customer type. Now, underscore type. So customer type, well, 100 is not bad because it's just member and normal. People who has a membership class, membership or normal. So the next thing is gender. Like the Western world, we have multiple genders. Yeah, still have some. Okay, 100 is fine. In case there's a need for update. So the next one is product line. Product line. Okay, I'm just using 100 everything. Once we get to a place that will sense there will be number, here we are, like unit price. Now, unit price is a number. Now, if you look at what we have in the unit price here, you'll see this is a number, and one thing we should take note of, it's not just a number, it's a numbers with decimal. For example, for people who are very familiar with SQL, you mistakenly put integer int. Those decimal will disappear by the time you bring in your data, and it's not really good. Excuse me. But there's a general this thing that help us that is called numeric. So you use numeric. You don't need specification. Excuse me. You don't need specification regarding that, like length or so. So what's the next one? Quantity also. Quantity, we can use integer here because you can only count quantity. So we can say, okay, int is fine for this, but you can use numeric, any one of them, nothing change. No issues at all, but just trying to get this done. So, and you can see our quantity also doesn't have decimal, so we just need to know. Then the next one is tax. I think taxes. Now, we need to be very careful here because 5%. Percentage is an operator of call module. So we don't need to do that. So just call it tax. Tax is fine. So tax is number. So use numeric. Then what is next? Total cost. Okay, good. Cost. It's also numeric. Then what is next? Order date. Order date. Now this one is date format. I'm sure somebody might be saying, okay, what is going to be here now? Just watch. Order underscore date. Why is it showing us this color? Because order is a command when we want to sort. We want to sort something out. So you need to complete it and put date. So the date type is called date. It's called date. Don't forget that. Then time. Okay, we can put time. Now, let me put times because it will be reading it. You can see the color changes if I just leave it like this. So we don't want that. So let's just call it let me look at the time. Okay, because we are definitely going to ignore this time. It's nothing because most of the time is always infused together with the other dates, and that's why they call it a date time. But we don't do that. Or maybe I should let's take this out. Let's take this out so we don't complicate things. That means I'll convert this to we'll convert this to a CSV. Don't worry. Let's move on. So let's take this time out. So payment. So payment type is Vasha. So comma. Now payment type is the member or the type of payment they make. You can see wallet, cash, credit, stuff like that. Let me even check these guys. Okay. Cost of goods sold is the next. So we call it COG. It means cost of goods sold. That is the amount it is being sold. Maybe something can now change. Oh, sorry, it's not Vasha, it's numeric because it's number. So let's check the next one. Gross margin. So it's also numeric. So what else? Gross margin percentage. Okay, let's do that. Gross income. Income. Numeric. And I think the last one now is ratings. Ratings and numbers. So it's numeric. So all right. So I like creating space. So we have created our table. Let's run it. And if you look at the table here, you will see there's nothing there. We have expanded. So, but let's run this to see what we have. So you can see the feedback now. Query return successful in 469 milliseconds. So by the time we expand this guy, as a matter of fact, we can refresh it. The trigger will take place. this trigger we talked about, that is the trigger function. We alert it that something action has done, and that's why we can see it here. You can see the retail table, even though it's empty. We can expand on it to see the columns. The columns we created just now. Yeah, they straightforward. It doesn't waste time. So once we have done that, as a matter of fact, we can say, okay, let's even look at the empty table. Star. So we said select is as good as saying show me. Show me star means all. Show me all. From where? From this table. So you mention the table name now. Then you run it. You can see it's empty. It's large and it's empty. So that is the first step. So by now, if anybody wakes you up, how do you create a table? So the first thing is to, write all the column headers and their data type. These are their data type. Then once you do that, you have created a table. So the next thing we want to do now is to import the data set into it. Then we can call it a day. Excuse me. So now I'm going to write a comment. Importing the data set into the table. It's the next agenda. All right, import the data set into this newly created table is the next agenda. All right, so how do we do that? So we're going to do something first. There's a formula called copy. We have seen something like insert. So the insert method is like the manual, one by one. Okay, I type in the record yourself, But what if you're having millions of data sets? So that's why I'm not going to go through those basic ones. The millions. So we cannot be doing it one after the other. And you now call all your village people, guy, I need your help. It will take us 3 months. It's not typing, it cannot possible. So you have to find a way to migrate every one of them at once. And that's what we want to do now. Importing. So we just type copy. So this table, we want to copy lot of data into this table. Then you now type from. So this is where the what's the name would be. This is the address, the document address. Now, since we are dealing with delimiter, you will type specify the delimiter. You can see the delimiter as indicated is a comma separated value, comma CSV file, comma. So we ensure that the comma is here. This is what is separating them. But assuming it is other form, maybe like backslash or something, then you ensure that the delimiter is backslash. What is separating them? Now we will leave it like this. So we want to get the table ready. Now, let's come back to this. Don't forget. Now, we have taken out the time, right? We could have used the CSV file, but I guess we removed the time, so we need to create this from the start. Now, one thing we are going to do that is very important, since we have created this is the last guy we are going to delete. We have already created a header already, so we don't need this header again. Is the date format. The date format in Postgres is YYYY -MM -DD. It's not going to go with this format. So we need to change it. So you control copy, shift, highlight down so that it can write everything down. You can see everything on this other date is captured now. In Excel now, you can come to this where you can change it, the format, number format. So we can focus is actually on more number formats now. So to show us something like this, I will go to the custom settings. We want to customize it ourselves. So you can see the format is showing us. We don't have any problem. So we just have to type it our own. Why? You can see it's already giving us what it's going to look like from this preview. iPhone that is for the month, iPhone DD. So once we do that, just press OK. So you can see the date format has changed. And once this is done, we'll ensure we delete this first row. You right click here. I've done Excel now, so we'll kill it. Sorry, I'm using the funny word, kill it. So we will now save it in CSV format. So file, save as. In this PC, let me use this guy. Let me call it dataset 2 and change it to command. We have several commands separated. You see the UFT8 command delimiter. You see the Macintosh, that is from the Mac and the likes, MS Docs, and this is the guy we are looking for, command delimiter. And you can close it. So this is it. This is the data now. We can open it. Now you can see the date format here now. It's like this. Please, I'm begging us, don't edit anything after you have done it like this, because this one will change again. The date format will change again to the normal one. So just leave it jejely, close it. Now we're going to do one thing. This guy, Datakliq, is coming from Microsoft used products now, Excel, and Notepad, Excel. And Postgres is not a Microsoft product. So you need to take some permission. I don't know why the two companies are fighting. So you click on it, right click. You go to the properties below. It's loading now. The properties, the last one. You click on it. So from here, you go to the security, and you will see you need to do something here so that you can have all this permission checked. So click on edit, you click on add, and you type everyone. Oh God. It's not case sensitive, just type everyone. So once you do that, for everyone is the right key. Ensure all this thing is selected. Now they have been clicked. Then you click on apply. So doing that, you will now copy this object link. Highlight it and copy it. Okay. Now you go back to your Postgres. This is where you post it. Control V. Then let's see if it will go. It should go. Sometimes we always do back and front here. Successful. 166 milliseconds. So we have imported the data set. So by the time we view it, you can see this is the where we can view it. It's not going to be empty again. And here we go. So these are the tables. So you can see the date format, everything is in there. The cost of goods sold is there, the gross margin, the income, and like that. And that's how it is achieved. We have import our table. You can see it's looking cool. All what we need now is to design, fire on. So this is the basic thing. So any other thing can now come in. We can now say, okay, we can say, okay, Let me type everything. Let me just freestyle. Select star from this guy. I just want to show us how this thing can be. It's still going to give us the same thing. And let's say they are telling us where, I believe maybe from the beginning of the class, we must have been doing something like this. And say where the customer type is member. And you type where. The thing is closer to English, just be saying it. Where customer type is equals to, now it's a data inside, so you have to put a quote. You have to put a quote. You have to put member. It's case sensitive when you put a quote, so just look at it. So by the time we run it, you see everything now is member everything. It's very straightforward. I can say okay, normal. So you can see normal again. So this is how you can begin to do the manipulation now and the likes. I can even say, okay, I'm already using where right now. So I can say, okay, we want quantity that are, excuse me, less than 6. Maybe that's the instruction. Quantity supply could play. It's not hard. So just, sorry I speak you, but there, quantity, and instead of saying equals to, say less than. Now numbers, when you are referencing number, you don't need quotes. It is only text you need quotes. So, and I'm sure you must have seen that in Excel multiple times. So less than, let's say 6. So that means you're looking at 5, 4, the likes as per quantity supply. So by the time we are likely to run it, we'll see. You see? 5, 2, 3. So you can do lots of manipulations here. I mean, when it comes to manipulation, this is how you can now be doing it. And sometimes, like one of the manipulation we talked about, I will say absolute. I can say, okay, don't let me use from here. We don't have a negative stuff here. Let's say we want to make minus 85 as absolute. So we have to say select. So this will give us 85 straight. You see? 85. If I want to use square roots, I'm trying to just give us square root of 100. 10. So, this is one of the things we can do, like what we have discussed. So, I think that'll be all for the day. So, I'll be entertaining question right now. And if you have any question now, in fact, I'm seeing, what's the name? People raising up their hands. Wow, 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 that's good. Okay. Let me check the pause first to see if there's okay. All right. So, all right, let's take questions. I think Miss Diola Juliet Odumero, please, you have the floor, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Shino. I really
Good
enjoy your
afternoon, ma'am.
class. Yeah. Please, I want you to go back how you copy the data set into Postgres because me too, I've been having issues with it. I want to do it on my own, so I've not been using copy from other. I want you to help me
Okay,
back.
okay. How we import our data sets, right? Okay,
Yes, yes.
All right, okay. So let me just show my screen. I'll just show us. And now this is it. Copy, copy to this table from. Now the address. This is the address. Don't worry, you guys will have the access to the video, but don't worry. This is the address after you have taken that permission. Delimiter to specify what is separating the data since it's comma separated value. And this is what it means. If I go to this, right click, go to the properties, the last one here, and go to the security, you will see the everyone is at work. We have edited it, we have clicked on edit to write it, and copy this guy at the end of the day. This is where we copy the object name and paste it in our Postgres here. So that's why we were able to migrate the data within. I don't know if I've make sense. Miss Tiala.
Yes. Yes, you
All right,
have.
don't worry.
I've
All right. Okay. I think um people. Is there a quiz today? Yes, I will send a link. Now it will. Okay. Before we go to the quiz part now. Okay, Mr. Yodiji has a question, please. You have the floor, sir. Mr. Adeji, AA, you have, I think you have the floor. You are raising up your hand, so you can go ahead and ask your question. So you can go on, Mr. Adeji. Your hands is at, okay, no, I don't yet. Okay. All right. Okay, let me look at the, I'm sorry, I'm just reading the chat box now so we can. Okay, somebody is asking a question. Okay, I can't see it. Okay. These are just personal. All right. Okay. There's a question here that says it's almost 12. So it says, in other words, there is different method to working on your data in Postgres, right? No, it's practically the same kind of. You know, is I will not just say it's the same. Okay, it's still the same thing, but sometimes if you are working on a different software, navigation is another thing you should learn how you can navigate around it. So, and that one shouldn't be an issue. I've mastered the directions, 2 weeks. And after a while, you get used to it. You can use cheat sheets, screenshot, are good. So it's always the same. So yes, there should be a quiz today, but I'm going to send a link. Now I will send a link to the chat box now. I want us to, it's not really a link, I just want us to try to say it's from what's the name? From W3 schools. Oh, you want to, okay. Okay, I have a question. Somebody said he's trying to connect to his page admin and he has forgotten password. Ah, the issue of password is a tough one. It's usually a very tough one. But most of the time, there is a way you can go to the back end. You can go to the back end to do that. But I would recommend, I guess you just, if you don't have any important thing or your this thing, I would strongly recommend you to I'll strongly recommend you to uninstall and install again, please. I will really, because you can have the file, you might still have the file with you, so you just install it straightforward. But this time around, during your installation, put in your password and don't forget it. That's what I used to tell people. All right. Okay. Now, the quiz is going to be in two forms. One is going to help you in this journey of SQL. I'll send the link now. Let me see if I can do that now. Now, the second one will be from the data set we just worked on. So I want you guys to do the same thing. I want you guys to do the same thing what I just did now. Trust me, you can do it. And with that, you can, so that tomorrow we can use the same data set for other topics, other area to cover. So it's very important we get familiar with this. So it's very important. So let me paste the link. So I've sent the link. It's W3 school link. Is let's try our best. That is the first one. So the second one, I'm going to drop the data set now. Hold on. I'm trying to pick. Let me see. Okay, you know what? So that I don't just waste our time, I'll drop it in the chat. Okay, Mr. This is raising up his hand. I guess he wants to say something. Mr. Adeji, hello? Okay, yeah, drop your hands. Okay. All right, so I'll just drop it. Okay, Mr. Adeji, go on, sir. So you can mute yourself, Mr. Adeji. I guess it's probably network from his end. All right, so it's 12 o'clock. So I'm going to drop the data set. I'll find it across you guys. So it's very important. So the data set, because it's not going to be like the regular quiz of you, okay, understand the things, but this one is going to be like you do the same thing. Like it's not giving me mic access. Now you can go on, Mr. Adeji.
I have given him my access already. I think it's his network.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but another person wants to ask a question.
Yeah,
Daniel.
Mr. Daniel.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Daniel, you have the floor.
Okay, sir. Thank you so very much. The class was very interesting. For my question actually is not regarding the class. Can I still ask?
Okay, go on, please.
Okay, sir. There is this data set I've been working on in Excel.